Jason Orange.
So, welcome to Friday's edition of the Theatres of Dreams. This is your Extra Time podcast, and we are delighted to have Mr. Don Barrs back. I just said off air, it's like having Robbie back and Take That. He brings the glamour, the flair. More importantly, Richard, he does actually bring a bit of content and knowledge, doesn't he?
He does certainly the knowledge, but I would compare him more to Jason Orange really than Robbie.
Thank you for that. I like to think of myself more as a Jason Orange. He's
Really?
got all the moves. He's got all the moves. I'm sorry I've been
Well,
away. We've had the negotiation of our January contracts to re-sign me for this program has obviously took longer than we realised.
wow.
So I was on an embargo last week.
Well,
Nothing to do with the
Yeah,
derby.
we are more contractually obliged to have him back. We were very, very, very impressed with Mark last week,
well, yeah,
but
very impressed.
unfortunately, we are contractually obliged to have Dom on the show.
It's because we're looking to sign some women's products as sponsors, and they want Dom as the face of masculinity.
The pinup.
Maybe
I'm
the
your man.
face of femininity. I don't know, but anyway, let's talk more important things. How are we this week in the world of football, Dom? Let's start with you because you've been away. How are you?
I'm better now. I've recovered from I missed the best week for me personally because obviously there was a derby and there was a trip to the North Pole that went a bit wrong. So yeah, happier after a home win last Saturday um, and a win in the Champions League, which we'll talk about no doubt on Wednesday. So yeah, feeling happier and
Did you
enjoying the
go
new
to both?
signs.
Did you
I
go to
didn't.
both?
No, I didn't go to Galatasaray. I've got a bit of a moan there. I was at Wolves, but I didn't go to Galatasaray because I, I struggle with it. I spend a lot of money on City. I've got 3 season tickets already for me and the
Gosh.
family. And I just believe, which is you could do a whole debate on, I just believe that all clubs, and I think City, it's my team and it's how I feel about it, should be more generous with the price discounts on Champions League group stages. I mean, if you were to go across all the grounds, Tottenham were probably 10,000 short when they play at home in the Champions League. We're certainly 10,000 short in the, as you like to call it, the Etihad, and it's a different crowd, and it just
Do you
becomes
do
a
you
lot of
think a
money.
season do you think a season ticket should get you into every game?
It gives you you can pay for a bolt on at the beginning of the season, so you can buy it with the Champions League group stages.
Oh,
Okay,
you can.
you can, but
Does that
but it,
include FA Cup?
but I just so the season ticket I have gives me the first 3 home cup games, domestic cup games. So it depends if you get drawn at home. So for argument's sake, the way it's fallen with City is actually one of those home games is the semi-final against Newcastle in the Carabao. So that's quite a good game to have for free. Well, for free, it's paid for in the season ticket. So you have those, but normally it's home to Salford or it's something like that. Um, but I just think the European group stage is to fill the ground because the atmosphere is quite bland, to be truthful, other than the away fans in the corner. I just think that it's a different audience. It's an international crowd who are in your seats, who are not your usual fan base. And I just think that there should be a heavier discount on the tickets. If I was to buy a ticket on Wednesday off the cuff to go to Galatasaray, I just think it's too expensive. I just think you should be able to buy the 4 for hardly anything as a season ticket, so you don't even think about it. It should be like 20 quid a game or something. Because surely you want to fill the ground and have an atmosphere, then it be half empty.
Yeah, and Rodney, to be fair, if Dom got that discount, he would then be able to go down to one of those designer shops in Manchester and buy another one of those scarves. So, it's the money still goes back into the economy, but in a different way.
Well, I think, Dom, I don't know about you, but I do find that
Oh, look.
I,
No, it's Omar Sharif.
oh, honest to goodness. See, it's neutral colors though. He's not coming out in blue. He's
No.
he's playing it safe. But I do think that you do find that the demographics of the ground changes for those games, and you get more football tourists, for example,
Big
and,
time.
and the clubs like them because if they're coming 1 game a season or 2 games a season, they spend more in the club shop, they spend more overall, and because it's a novelty. Whereas if you're going
Yes.
week in week out, you're spending less. So I sort of get it from a commercial point of view, but you do lose on atmosphere and that ferocity and the price
Well,
of a
Stoke
season
Stoke
ticket.
City v Birmingham the other week, FA Cup. it was a farce. They closed the Franklin stand completely, and then put all the Stoke fans in a little bit in the booth and a little bit in the corner. And there was more Birmingham City fans than there were Stoke City fans
But,
because
but but if you look at, especially in the Premier League, and actually I've got a guy doing a piece today on my show talking about the Americanization of the EPL, how many American corporates own it, etc. Their market and what they're interested in is the overseas market, the TV market, the licensing, etc., etc. And actually bums on seats, while it looks good on TV and it can help with the atmosphere. If they close the stand, for example, and they focus the TV cameras away from that stand, it looks packed. The game now is entertainment, and it's a different thing. As much as we would love the ground to be full, and I'm sure they would as well, actually from a commercial point of view, sometimes keeping those ticket prices higher, those day trippers coming in, I would imagine that maybe they're looking at the bigger P and L
mind you,
position.
guys. I mean, you've seen that when I was looking at they were trying to work out before. I know it was. I was watching Match of the Day, and they were showing you how the league format is now, and they were showing, well, if this happens, these guys going to need so many goals, blah blah blah. But it just proved how many teams were involved in this new format,
It's massive.
and basically, it's almost become like they wanted this European Super League. It's kind of
It is.
it's kind of become
It's
that,
there.
hasn't it?
It is.
It's closer to it feels like it's closer to the Super Bowl model. The way it's the top way it goes, and then it's a playoff. I mean,
Yes,
we call it the round of 16, but in America we'd be calling it now. You're in the Super Bowl playoffs after the league season, and
yes.
that's what it is. Obviously on less games, but you're right. There's, what is it, 32 teams in the league,
Mm.
and
It's
but
good.
don't get me wrong. I really like the format.
Yes,
I
we're
really,
getting used to this new format,
I
aren't we?
did. Yeah,
Of course,
you say
We're happy because we've qualified automatically.
Well, five teams possible will finish in the top eight, and it could mean all the Premiership teams will be in the qualifying next stages.
Yeah,
Now,
the only one that didn't, are Newcastle, and let's face it, they did well. 1-1 draw against PSG.
yeah.
It's commendable, isn't it?
Well, let's. I mean, I wanted to talk about the derby, but I feel that's old news, and we've moved on since then. Don, what did you make of the derby, by the way?
think it's the first proper hammering. I'll call it hammering that we've had since Fergie. That's what you take your medicine and you just go, yeah, you didn't just beat us. I mean, we've obviously got the game at the weekend with Arsenal, which was, I mean, another magnificent result, probably even better because it's away from home against a team that just doesn't give goals away. I think that's an even more impressive result.
That was incredible, Rodney. Let's put City aside because we have talked about it, and it is kind of old news. But what we haven't discussed is that Arsenal result, because fair play, United scored some cracking goals, and when Arsenal equalised that 2-2, you automatically thought they were the ones who were going to. But
Yeah.
I was very impressed. That Cunha goal was absolutely
Oh,
superb.
it's a beautiful goal. It was. I didn't go into the game with any expectations, to be honest. I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but as we got into the game, they sort of grew. And again, Mbembo and Dorgu. I mean, Paddy Dorgu's now out for the rest of the season. That's going to be a massive miss.
Is
And
he?
he's out.
Why?
Yeah,
He's got a strain. He pulled up in the game and was substituted, and he's got ace. No,
hamstring, I think.
I think it's a
Hamstring.
hammy. Yeah, it's a hammy. And he was playing sort of left midfield actually, and it's
For
going
the
to be a
whole
big.
season with a hamstring.
Yeah. Apparently,
Must be
he's
a
out
bad
for
one then.
he's out for several months, and where we are now, you sort of think, well, what's going to happen? So it's a big miss because he's come in and made that position his own. But it was it was a goodness, unbelievable
A
game.
good advertisement, by the way, for the Premier League of people watching that around the world. The 3-2. A good old lots of goals, excitement. It was good advertisement.
I
Yeah,
think it's. But
it
do you
was.
think? I think as well, good for the league.
Mm.
Again, I'm not being salty. I went in quite heavy a couple of weeks ago on Arsenal being, just a heavy artillery Wimbledon or Stoke City with a big bank balance. I still stand by that. And it got proven the goals were shoddy, to say the least. we'll have a conversation about how they're going to deal with this goalkeeper issue. You could argue, well, we all need to do it. Okay, fine. Well, we'll just go back to what John Fashanu used to do back in, with Vinnie Jones, then, shall we, in the early 90s. Okay, fine, if that's what we all want. But get a team that's doing everything on probability, and then a team that has got creative flair. And don't get me wrong, United are not ready for challenging for the title, even though they've had those two fantastic results. But when you've got quality on the pitch like Kuna, we've all said was a brilliant signing, hasn't really caught fire yet. But then he does that and you go, yeah, he's class, and he's absolute class. But
I tell you what, I do find interesting. I know you both, especially Dom, I know you like your stats, but afterwards they were analysing that Arsenal have only scored something like 5 goals in open play. It's majorities coming from set pieces or corners. And will that come back to bite them, in this push for the league? Because obviously City score lots of goals in open play. And will people just find a way to address these corners that Arsenal are scoring from?
They're a one-trick pony. Sorry, they're a one-trick pony. We talk about Phil Foden and Haaland being out of form and getting slated, right? Why are we not talking about Saka? He's got 1 goal in 14 in a team that is supposedly on a quadruple and the best team in the world. He's got 1 goal in 14 and he's playing regularly. He's doing nothing. Sorry, he's no better than Salah right now. And Odegaard's being absolutely rinsed this week by his own fan base to say that he's part of the problem because they can't create anything because he's coming too deep. So they have an issue where they've got this brilliant military goalkeeper back four and Rice. And then after that, I'm sorry, everyone's bang on average.
I think one more bad result, they will really be wobbling.
Leeds away.
Leeds away is the next game.
There's only, as we know, it's only 4 points in it, and it's tight, and now you sense that there's a bit of a gallop now to the end, and the pressure. I think that 4 points is not significant enough for them at all.
And this is why, Rodney, I think these buys that Man City have bought, with Gay, the guy from Crystal Palace. Just remind me, Dom.
Yeah, it was Gay and Semenyo.
Semenyo, right? So Semenyo, and who's to say they're not? Something else might not happen as well. But these new players that they've brought in now might be really important with this 4 point gap.
Can I just drop in on that? Because I went to see. Seen Semenyo and he's got 4 in 3 already. He's a beast of a lad. Can play anywhere. I mean, he's just gelled straight in because they're ready-made Premiership players. They're already understand the league. They're intelligent enough to understand our pattern of play pretty quickly after a few training sessions. And Semenyo's look great, but my goodness, Mark Gay, he's everything you wanted him to be. The leadership last week at Wolves, don't get me wrong, it was the most perfect debut he could have had home to Wolves, who, by the way, worked really hard and huffed and puffed, and you can see why they've been getting better results recently, but he didn't have anything up front at all. So he had a comfortable game, but you should have seen his leadership, vocal, how he controlled Kushinov, who, by the way, is excelling, but how he led him. For a lad whose first game on the pitch, he was talking, he was hugging him when they was doing blocks to get a clean sheet. He is magnificent. And he will be, as soon as Bernie goes, 1,000,000% he's the next captain in the summer, that quick. Wow. Honestly, he is.
You think so, Dom, captain?
He is Vinny Company levels.
Really?
His aura, his way, his humility, his ability, his vocals. Honestly, he's unbelievable. He makes Diaz look not so good, and he's brilliant. He's just brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. Get him in your fantasy football because he's going to control this makeshift back four until Diaz comes back. He's amazing.
Do you wish he had been with you in at Bodo Glimt? By the way, sorry to bring you back to that.
Yeah, completely. Did you see that back four? We just got rinsed, didn't we? By the way, can we just also give them a bit of light? It was their first ever win. I thought they played very well, and that got proven this week. Because did you see what they did on Wednesday?
No,
they won that. They've never won a game. They went to Atletico Madrid and won. They've qualified. They've qualified.
Have they?
They qualified. They're in the last 20, whatever it is. They're in. They've only just made it. They probably.
You mean they're in the playoffs?
They're in the playoffs. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is
but
they
that's
beat City, and then they won away at Atletico Madrid. So give them a little bit of respect as well, because it wasn't a pub team. They
yeah,
they were excellent.
yeah.
And look, we're going about the Arsenal capitulation. That is why I still think Villa cannot be ruled out. And that sounds a ridiculous thing to say, because I'm telling you, we're still in transition. Arsenal are trying their best to blubber it and get it wrong again. And if they don't do it this season, this is worse than their 8-point capitulation season, because the teams that are against them are not good enough to win the title. If one of us wins it, Arteta's got to go.
Richard, I think Pep has called Dom and said, "Look, this is the line that we're taking. Please, can you, on this podcast of yours, because it's so influential, you need to keep to this line. We're going to go for the understated. We are behind
Underdogs.
the curve, you know. So, Dom, you stick to that line, mate. We'll
I
be
am.
okay."
But Villa are 4 points behind. And you look at the run of fixtures that they've got coming now, right? That they get a little trickle of 3 or 4 on the bounce again. City and Arsenal, who will both drop points because we're scared to death of each other, need to just keep an eye on that back mirror of Villa. Because if we don't win it, what a brilliant story that would be.
So let's just talk about the English teams in the Champions League, because it has been very successful so far. Is that just because you think it's the bigger league format? It's more like a league, and therefore that sort of the jeopardy involved sometimes when it's more smaller leagues or playoffs, if you like, is different. Or do you think that the English clubs have got a style that now manages the European style better, or are we just better teams?
Do you think, Rich, as the European giant in the group?
Well, like I say, it's a good excuse to talk about Liverpool at the moment because, like I say, we had this horrific loss to Birmingham with the last kick. Sorry, Bournemouth with the last kick of the game. Absolutely deflating me and the fans and the team. The horrific defending off that throw in. I mean, Van Dijk and you talk about Mark Gay leading the line. Van Dijk frustrates me sometimes. We should never have lost that game. Then we go and win 6-0 at home in the Champions League. So, yes, Liverpool look very comfortable in the Champions League at the moment, and it was a great result. And Verts, Ekatike, you know, Salah even scoring. Great to see him score again because he looked very poor again against Bournemouth. Just wish he would click back into the old Salah. So maybe this is a start. But yeah, it's good that we've automatically qualified. People like Real Madrid and Newcastle have still got to go through the playoffs. But like Carragher was saying, even though we've qualified in that in a great position, it still puts us. He told I can't remember the teams, but there were still decent teams that we could potentially play
Oh,
in the next one. It doesn't seem to. It's like last year. Do you remember we came top and then we had to play PSG?
to be honest with you, so far this tournament has been a transitioning into it. It really kicks off now when you get to that.
Yeah,
You know,
and I
really.
think that actually, Rodney, is half the reason why Dom says that sometimes these stadiums and are a bit quieter with these kind of uh, strange kind of games sometimes. But when it gets to the meat and two veg, when you're playing like City
Mm,
against Real Madrid, you're going to get a full stadium there.
Yeah.
yeah.
Dom's going to turn up for that. You know, he's going to put the designer top to one side and he'll go to that game.
He might even buy a new scarf. Um,
But you know,
That's true.
I think that's because there's so much football. Like Dom says, 3 season tickets, all these games, FA Cup, Caribou Cup, whatever it's called. You can't go to all of them. So, but when it comes to the big game, he'll be there.
The
The,
business end is the last 16,
the
and
business end.
we're likely to get. You've seen the way it's fallen. We're likely to get Real Madrid again.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's interesting that you say that, because if you go to the initial point that Rod was saying, we go on about our league not being so good, and it's, Arsenal are going to win it. It's the worst team in Premier League history, and it's not very good, and football's not so clever. Yet then you're right. You go over to the Champions League, and you see 5 of the top 8, are represented by England, and then you've got one German team, one Spanish team, and one Portuguese team, which is an amazing story with that goalkeeper from Sporting Lisbon. Right?
Oh, I was just about
Amazing,
to talk about that
amazing.
because do you know what I
Best
mean?
moment.
That was fantastic. I mean, there's even suggestions now. I saw this mentioned on social media that Mourinho, uh, Ali McCoist was saying this, that he brought his team out slightly late in the second half. And that was, they reckon, tactical so they could see how the results were going
Yeah, yeah,
and what they needed. And
it's a
they
good
needed
point.
that last goal, didn't they, to get into the playoffs? And that's what
He,
sent Real Madrid into the
he was
playoffs.
towering over them, wasn't he? And he was actually quite, to be honest, he was not very well marked, actually. It was almost like they'd just forgotten about him.
Oh
They
well,
were
because
down to 9. They were down to 9. They had two
I,
sent off.
had they?
Real Madrid had 2 men sent off in the last few minutes, one for
Oh
dissent,
yes,
one
sorry,
yeah,
for.
yes,
they had. Yes,
yes.
So he worked out. To be fair to him, I mean, whatever you think about Mourinho, he's a cute little cookie, isn't he? And they were completely outnumbered. But you're right, he did get a free header. I mean, you'd have
Well,
thought, come,
Yeah,
come
but
on, Real Madrid.
it was a
it's
great
marvelous, isn't
header.
it? Because they had Asensio sent off 2 minutes into additional time, and Rodrigo on 6 minutes, and then Trubin scores on 8 minutes in. It is a unbelievable scoreline. Madrid being beat 4-2 by
Well,
Benfica.
Real Madrid, by the way, are in a bit of disarray at the moment. I mean, they've got the new guy that they've put in place, uh, but
Arbeloa.
Is
yeah,
that
uh,
yes?
it doesn't. They don't. He. It looks a bit of a mess at the moment. Then you got suggestions that Trent has been told that he's got no future at the club. That's now been denied. I even saw a story the other week, Tom. I'm sure you must have seen this, linking Trent to Man City.
Yes, it's just it's nonsense. There's a load of drivel, but you just get all what you're saying there about the. Have we got a situation where is it that the Premier League's weaker? Well, it can't be against Europe because 5 of the teams are there, and Newcastle were in it until the last week, right? They were very close to it, and they got a draw away at PSG. PSG, the defending champions, everyone said we're going to win it for the next 3 seasons. They're not in the top 8 again. Real Madrid
Mm.
are not in the top 8 again. City only just made it in the last kick of the game almost, and we weren't in it last year, so we've all struggled with this format to get into this top 8 because it is tight. It's really tight. If we'd have put a proper team out in hindsight a good few weeks ago against Bayer Leverkusen, forget the Bode Glint, we got played off the park that night in the cold.
Mm.
But actually, there was a home game where we put the kids out and we got beat 2-0 and it was a non-event. How do we have won that game? We'd have finished second. So
Yeah.
it's crazy tight to go into that final 8 and then the playoffs. But the question you have to ask is, so is it that Europe is also struggling with too much football? And is it the same there that there's too many club World Cups? Because don't forget, that took a lot of time of the big clubs last season when they should have been on the beach. Plus the Euros, plus the World Cup. Is it too much? Because the best teams right now in Europe, who are the hot favourites, are the most robotic, which is Arsenal and Bayern Munich. So they're the best. Is that the best we can offer? Because Madrid are in transition, City are, PSG are struggling with injuries and fatigue. They're not quite there at European level yet. They will easily do it. So have we got a situation where football all over the place is just fatigued and it's not just our league? Because it can't be, because otherwise Europe should be doing better than we are, shouldn't it?
Or is it that the tactics, the formations, the strategies being played are suiting teams that are more compact, hold the ball deeper, and close down the spaces, and are playing on the counter more?
Well, you're back to this analogy that was given about the Italian Serie A in the early 90s, if you heard that one, which is really fair point, which is that was the dominant league in Europe. We weren't playing European football, obviously, if you remember then. We were in that ban. But they then neutralised each other. So if you ever watched the Scudetti on a Sunday afternoon, it was a little bit dry.
It was.
Because both teams were so organised. It was we call it the Italian way. Well, actually, that's just really strong, organised, structured teams. Is that not what's going on in our country now? I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is.
It is. Well, I mean, what's the stat? I mean, Arsenal scored, I think we mentioned it before, they've scored more goals from set pieces, corners and free kicks than they have from open play, and you have to make the most of those opportunities. I think we have learned how to play in Europe by holding it tighter, not giving the ball away as much and hitting them on the break. I think if you looked at the stats, you would see that the English teams are probably getting less goal chances, but their conversion rate's higher than some of the other teams.
But something tells me if Barcelona and Real Madrid were playing like Arsenal, even if they won La Liga that way, the fans still wouldn't be happy because
Yeah.
No.
no, I think Barcelona. We don't talk about Barcelona very much, which I think is a bit unusual, but I think they're one of the favourites for the Champions League this year.
A great win over Copenhagen midweek, and 4 goals from 4 different contributors. Yeah, you're right. I think Barca probably are under the radar a little bit. Can I ask, have you seen the connection of Xabi Alonso to Liverpool? And does it suggest that your man's under a bit of pressure, Richard?
I don't see anything. I don't see anything happening before the end of the season. If Slot doesn't qualify for the top four, I think maybe there might be some conversations, but I don't know. I think if Liverpool get top four, which by the way now with United having a bit of a good run in Chelsea, I think that's under threat. I think if we didn't qualify for Europe per se, then he would probably go.
Mm.
Whether if they qualified for the Europa League would keep his job and he was given more time. We're not really a sacking club as such, but I think these league performances have frustrated. If you listen to somebody like Paddy Pimblett, who's obviously a very famous MMA fighter, but he goes to all the Liverpool matches. And I was watching an interview with him, and he was just giving his grading on all the new players and Slot, and it said we're just bored. It's just boring to watch, and he says it as it is, Paddy the Baddy, and he was just saying who'd shone and who hadn't shone, and it sounds like the Liverpool fans, because he is a typical Liverpool fan that will be watching, that they're not happy with the style of play. Obviously, that win 6-0 at home eases that, but I think they're just fed up of how they've been playing at home. And it is good now that Wirtz looks like he's settling in, but he's got to do that in a league match. And Ekitike, and they've got to defend better. But I think Alonso is obviously going to be mentioned because of the connection, but I'm not so sure what's going to happen there. I really don't know. It all depends. I think top four will guarantee that he'll stay. Outside the top four, who knows?
I think you're dead. I think you're dead right though. I don't think it's a great defence of the league, but that does happen quite more often than people realise. I've said this before.
Yeah.
It's taken for granted that the champions come back year after year because of what City have done, and you need to be reminded, just like the Ferguson teams, that that's not normal. It's an era that's of a peak that only comes. It's just not a continual thing. When they say that if Arsenal win the title, I can't remember who it was. It was somebody like Chris Sutton or somebody went, if Arsenal win the title, they'll win it for years. They won't. They'll capitulate emotionally and be terrible defending champions, right? So it doesn't work. That just doesn't work like that. But if Slot goes, you would say based on availability of top managers who can handle big clubs, I do think Alonso makes a lot of sense, and I do think he's in the mould because forget Madrid. Madrid have just eaten him up and spat him out because of their culture. That's what's happened there. It's not him as a manager, but what he did at Bayer Leverkusen is in essence a mirror of what Klopp did in Germany. So actually, I do think he would be a really good fit. I do think he'd be a great fit in Liverpool, and he understands the DNA of Liverpool. Madrid will wreck any manager, in my opinion, as long as Mbappe's there.
Well, here, and while we're
that's why, Rodney, I think Unai Emery would think twice about going to Madrid.
So I was going to ask you about the link to him. He's been linked to them, Richard.
Yeah, but Villa, I think, would be right behind him through thick and thin. Whereas Madrid would just spit him out if it didn't go well.
Why do you think that? Why do you think they spit him out?
Because that's what they do. that you can win the league with Real Madrid, and if you don't win the Champions League, they can sack you. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I know, but do you not think? I've never really understood the diamond status of Madrid. I know they've won the Champions League, the European Cup more than anybody else, but there seems to be when Madrid come calling, people melt. People want to go there. They can't help themselves, even though it can be like a poison chalice. There's been more and more people, both players and coaches, drawn to Madrid. Do you not think you and I would be thinking, do you know what? I can't let this moment go.
I think so. He's Spanish. He's Spanish, isn't he? He's Spanish, of course he is.
Yeah.
He's Spanish. Well, anyone. Like, unless you're Pep Guardiola, who couldn't go for, other like Basque reasons and all that, then the reality is anyone would go. And even if you went for one season, you only live once as a player to put that shirt on. You'd give it a go, wouldn't you? Or a manager, you'd give it a go. So the PR bandwagon of Real Madrid is quite ridiculous, really.
It is.
It is ridiculous. But I just think that club, I think I said this before, it's a mess there at Madrid. And I'm telling you, it's Mbappe moving around because there was a culture problem at PSG. There was a big culture problem. They should have won stuff and they never could. They were fragmented setup. He goes. Luis Enrique then ends up with the hardest working PSG team, beautiful on the eye, with players that some of us had never heard of. And they played the most sensational football last season, and it was just to be applauded. And they win the Champions League without him. Meanwhile, Mbappe's gone down with his big-time Charlie mates, and he has, they're all walking around as if they own the place, and they're kicking and they're getting rid of managers by their persona. It's him.
It is the epitome of the issues of modern day football, with players feeling that they're more empowered than the team, the manager, the club, and that, in fact, actually, but they have brought it on themselves over so many times. When you think of the type of players they bought, they've gone for big names, they've gone for the Galacticos every time, Dom.
Not every time. When they had their run, they had Galacticos in there, or they had great players. But some of the times when they had the Galacticos, they did get caught out. They did get caught out. I can't give you the decades right now, but when they did end up with the Beckhams and stuff, they didn't win everything. They didn't.
True.
Because they get outworked.
I think that's why getting Mark Gahey, by the way, is fantastic, because Madrid, I'm sure he would have done very well at Real Madrid.
He'd go anywhere. Honestly, he's magnificent, and he's. I know where he's living, and he's. I've not had a restraining order yet.
I know where you live, Mark Gahey.
Oh,
we're not had a restraining order yet, but he doesn't know this. But we're going to be best friends.
He's in Bowers Towers, isn't he?
But he's honestly, I'm not. I just as at Palace, you could do nothing but like him. But the best analogy I can give you is he's so much like a Vinny.
Do you know what I'm seeing? I'm seeing a bit of man love here, aren't
yes.
you?
Oh, yes.
I'm in love. I mean, let's not pull any punches here. I've told Mel to pack her bags. Yeah.
Well, tell Mark he can save on the rent by moving in with you.
Yeah.
But can we talk? Well, we're on the topic of said players, and let's just talk about former City players. Sterling is on the road again. He's left Chelsea. He's now looking for a club. I saw the headlines today that said apparently 7 Champions League clubs are apparently interested. I think that's probably 7 that his agents have made up and spun it to the media. But I was wondering whether, where do you think he would go? Would you think he would go to Tottenham, for example, or would he be worth a spin for some teams in the Premier League again?
Well, has he still got it, Dom? I don't know, because he hasn't played much. Has he still got something to offer somebody?
I think, yeah, absolutely. A couple of things there. I read this morning that he's been linked with Fulham, right, which makes loads of sense, because he's travelled all over the place. He's a real family guy with a load of kids, and he's, you know what I mean? Like, just take away all the people see. I think he's actually behind there, he's just a very normal, good guy who's had some of the PR around him is really unfair. But actually, I think he'll end up staying in London, settled with his family.
Yes,
and he'll want to play some football. And actually, you do see Chelsea players go to Fulham. It's not quite as antagonistic as it would be for go to Liverpool to Everton or City to United. Do you know what I mean? It's not quite the same there.
Be a little bit of a would it be a little bit of a come down for him though? Because he's always been at quite a
Yeah,
big glamorous club.
I think that's unfair on Fulham.
Yeah,
I think that's unfair on Fulham. And at his age and his level, I think you just get wiser and you're just happy to play some football and be healthy and happy. Do you know he's only 31?
He's 31. Yeah,
he's been at Chelsea for 3.5 years. So that means City let him go when he was like 27, 28, which technically in his prime. He was amazing for us. And he used to get abused at City for his lack of finishing and it's don't put Sterling in. But said before, it's a bit of a City thing where we pick on players. We love a scapegoat at City. And he used to get it unfairly. The lad scored 100 and odd goals. He's not a Premier great, but he's been an incredible professional in our game.
It didn't work out Arsenal either, did it?
No, because he's probably when he was at City, he did so well because he was part of a jigsaw puzzle where he'd come in on the back post and finish things, right? So when it's not quite like that, you're expecting him to do it yourself. It just never really got going at Arsenal.
Actually, Rodney, Tottenham would be the type. I think if they came in for him, the big, beautiful stadium.
Yeah.
I think he would be more. And how many players? I wonder, Rodney. I know you can look. I wonder how many players have played for Tottenham, Arsenal, and Chelsea.
Oh, that's a good shout.
Not many, is there? Can't imagine. Dom.
I can give you one. William Gallas.
Oh
wow!
Oh, look there, guys. Stato.
That's just paid his fee, hasn't
it? This is why I'm here.
That was without Google.
William Gallas just came straight to mind. But you're right. Tottenham would make sense. Fulham would Palace would make sense. But I think he'll stay in London.
I think he will.
And just a little one. A friend of mine is a coach at Chelsea with the academies and stuff, and he's like really high up within the organisation. And he last term, what would it be? Pre-Christmas, he within the coaching sessions at Chelsea, there was a couple of the players who got froze out, of which one of them was Sterling. Yeah. And Sterling was training and honestly, he had nothing but amazing things to say about him. He said he's the best trainer he's ever seen. He was unbelievable at developing the under-21s and being involved. He didn't sulk. He got froze out and he couldn't play football. He trained better than anybody on that pitch by a mile. And he said he's just different level.
He's almost been seen as one of the last of the sort of party lads, but that's probably an unfair image, really, isn't it?
It's totally untrue. I don't know where he's had it from. It's almost like he's been this mercenary since he left Liverpool to go to City. Yes. That's where it comes from.
Yes.
And all right, fair enough. Yeah, that was a real dramatic shift, wasn't it? To be fair, Liverpool were insulted, let's be truthful, because he saw going to City as an upgrade. And unfortunately, at that time, it's not having a dig. It's proven right because he won all them trophies. So he did do the right thing as a young lad. He was amazing in that Sturridge and Suarez combination. Amazing. And then
was he in the Champions League team?
Of which year?
It's City. No. You've only won it once.
No, he was frozen. I know. Thank you. He was frozen out at that point. That was when he was. That was when he was on his way out. But
so he wouldn't have received the medal.
No, because it was 3.5 years ago. He's been at Chelsea. We won it 3 years ago, didn't we? So no, he wasn't there for that. So he missed that. But he was part of the great the 100-point squad, the treble. He was all part of those teams and was a big part of it. And he's done the best thing that actually his parting shot, which is probably one of the best things that nobody ever talks about, is when we were 2-0 down to Villa and he came on as a sub when we were 2-0 down to win the title against you guys at Liverpool when we come back and won with Gundogan with 2 late goals. And he put the cross in for the first Gundogan header. It's one of the best crosses you'll ever see. Go and watch it. And no one ever said anything about the fact he came on and helped change the game with Gundo to get us that win. And then he left. But it's an unfair summary of that lad's career that he gets ridiculed because he's a much better player. And yes, he's fluffed chances and shots. But how has he had 10 years of being ridiculed?
He got ridiculed in other ways. You know, his kind of running style with his kids were doing that. He was, and adults would laugh at that. And I think He is obviously a family man. I've seen stuff on
I
social
just think
media.
he's very. I think it's unfair. He's not my favourite City player ever, but he's a
Yeah,
professional who's done it. And I'm telling you that inside info about that Chelsea guy tells you everything you need to know. Is he's 31, he's a multi-millionaire, and he's training harder and better than the 21s when he knows
yeah.
he's never going to get a game. That's professionalism. So he will do great. I think he'll go somewhere, Fulham, wherever, Tottenham, and he'll do all right. And I hope he does. So it's two fingers up to
Yeah.
everybody else.
Rodney, is this all got to happen in the next day or two?
I forget
Yeah,
when the window closes. Yeah, it must be the end of beginning of February, isn't it? The window closes.
he's a free agent.
Yeah, so you can go after the window.
I think so.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, yes.
So
So, Dom, if they've parted ways and he ripped up his contract, does that mean he gets paid off?
Yeah, there'll have been a deal.
Yeah.
No, he's walked away from a lot of money because
Oh, has he?
he wants to go play football. He could just sit on the sides and take the money, and he wants to play football again.
Yeah, yeah,
They've had this massive change of management and a too big a squad at Chelsea. He's not the only one. He's just the highest profile name that's disappeared off the team sheet. He'll go
yeah.
and play. He'll go and play football for the rest of the season at somewhere in London. That's my prediction.
Have you been impressed with the new Chelsea manager so far?
Jury's out on it. I mean, he's either talking a brilliant game and he thinks he's a bit of a UK Mourinho, or he's David Brent. I haven't decided yet which
Yeah.
one he is, but his results are good.
Can you remind me of his nationality? Because
He's English.
is he?
But he's grown up in different places because his dad was a footballer. So, but
Right.
I think he's originally from Bristol.
Yeah, because I say this is
Rossini.
Yeah, yeah.
but he did travel. I can't remember. You'd need to Google where his dad played and stuff and managed. But I think he's grown up a little bit across Europe and stuff. Like I said, his results are very, very good. But let's see what happens. They're going to be there around the top four, though, aren't they? But they should be. They spent a lot of money. That's what you said about the threat on Liverpool. Is United suddenly like resurgence and the feel good factor with Carrick, which will maybe continue. I think it probably will.
There's a few egg. At the moment. There's a bit of egg on some ex Man United players' faces, isn't there?
there's a lot of
Nicky Butt,
focus
Scholes, even
yeah.
Keane. I think they were poking Keane a little bit on the commentary, saying, are you a big fan of Michael Carrick now? And he goes, well, anyone can win 2 matches, and good luck, good luck to him, and all this business. But who have you got next, Rodney? Who's the next?
We got Fulham on Sunday at 2 o'clock. So a toughish game, you can't
Home or away, Rodney?
Home.
Right, okay.
So, but it's funny. Yeah, there has been a bit of criticism of some of the ex-players and talking about how much that what they say has an impact on the players. Now, you could look at that 2 ways. You could turn around and say that is ex-players with an axe to grind, or they're making money out of it, or whatever. Okay,
yeah,
and maybe some of them wanted to be closer to the club and have been. There's the whole thing about Gary Neville and the hotel that he wanted to build, or no, he did build it, but the club not being happy with hotel football being built and him connected with it, and they wanted to do it. And you also got the beef between Keane and Fergie and all of that, and I don't know if Liverpool, you could have had this in the 90s and the 90s, but then you didn't have so many podcasts. You didn't have the channels that you had today. You basically had match of the day, didn't you, really, on a Saturday night? So is it unrealistic? Is it sour grapes? I'll be honest, I'm starting to get a little bit tired of it, and I think it's just easy headlines. So I've pulled back from listening to some of it because it's the same old, same old.
Yeah, but if Carrick keeps on winning, I mean, goodness me.
Well, we'll see. We'll see about that. Can I go back to transfers, because I'm talking about City. A former City old boy is very much a young boy, is apparently on the move from Chelsea this summer. Cole Palmer. Dom, have you seen the rumours on this?
Again, I think that goes in with this need to create content. I really do. I think it's exactly the same thing, which is just gossip. It's just gossip. He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. He's going to stay.
You know where I was mentioned, Rodney? You know whose his boyhood team is?
United.
It's United.
United, yeah.
Yeah.
If they wanted to cash in on him, and United wanted to go and offer crazy money, and they felt that he was unsettled and he wanted to move back to Manchester. But I think at the moment it's January. They're trying to stimulate headlines. Again, what we've just been saying, quantity of content that's out there, it's in everyone's interest to create things to talk about. I just don't think any of that makes any sense whatsoever. He's only just got there in the last 18 months and he's done fine. He's been injured. He always looks a bit miserable. They want to make out that he's not happy on the pitch. He's not happy if he won the lottery. Look, he's just got one of them faces.
Some breaking news. They're just doing the draws on the Champions League at the moment as we speak. Right. And Jose Mourinho is I think that is going back to Real Madrid at home. Benfica versus Real Madrid.
Brilliant.
Bodo Glimt have got Inter Milan at home. Karabag have got Newcastle at home. Atletico Madrid go to Club Brugge. Galatasaray host Juventus. Olympiacos host Bayern Leverkusen. And Borussia Dortmund and Atalanta. That's the first ties so far.
Newcastle will be happy with that draw, won't they?
Who did they get? Sorry, I missed that one.
Newcastle go Karabag away. So yeah, they will.
Yeah, but Rodney, it's 2 legs, isn't it? It'd be 2 legs, sure.
Yeah, it'll be 2 legs. It'll be 2 legs. Yeah,
but Newcastle will be delighted about that. Delighted.
That's the knockout playoffs, basically. So those are the final. That's the final ones.
So wait a minute. Are you saying Benfica are playing Real Madrid again?
Yeah,
yeah, they are. Yeah, Benfica versus Real Madrid at home.
My goodness. So they've played them that game to get into this stage, and now they're gonna have to play them twice more.
You gotta think that it doesn't happen twice, don't you? Really, it really does.
I'll be supporting Benfica there definitely because I think we're likely to get the winner of that one. By the way, I think that means that Newcastle, without counting too many chickens, you could watch out for them. I think that means that there's a pathway that we could end up with a Chelsea Newcastle. That'd be that Chelsea won't fancy that.
Interesting. Let's just move on. One thing I want to ask you about was Strand Larsen. Because he has been linked with a move. I think it's actually Crystal Palace are close to reaching a verbal agreement, and the price would be £45 million, which is about a £30 million increase on what the Wolves bought them for. There's 2 sides to this. I heard a Wolves fan talk today on a podcast that Wolves are already preparing for life in the Championship, so they're getting rid of players now. And to get themselves, because it's easier to shift players now when the destiny is done, if you like. But do you reckon Strand Larsen, I believe, has scored more from pens and set plays than open play? Do you think he's a player worth that amount of money and right for Crystal Palace?
He spent a lot on him when they bought him. I think they paid about 40 million when they bought him. I can't remember where they got him from.
I thought he was more like 17, Dom.
I'd need to Google that. I thought he was quite a heavy signing for Wolves. It was when they were selling everybody, like they have done. I mean, he's not done anything, but I mean, crikey, I'm not sure. We could get on his case and say it's an absolute steal of a living he's making because he's moving for all this money and not achieving anything, but he's also playing. Maybe he's going to make a career of playing up front for teams that can't give him the ball. I mean, that's what's going on at Wolves. I was there last week, and they were very. He got them organised, and they were difficult to break down. But there's nothing.
John, how did that Mane play for Wolves last week? Mane, that striker. Did he play for Wolves when you went to watch them?
Can I be honest? I don't know because they never got the ball up front. That's what I mean. There was no. They're all right in the back four, and they'll huff and puff, and they're working hard. And that's why they've had these draws. But obviously they're playing us, and we were knocking it about okay. They just didn't really even have a shot. I just think I worry more for Crystal Palace being the next Wolves because if the manager's obviously going, and they've got Gaze gone and Eze went, they're only really left with Wharton. Mateta looks like he might be on his way to Forest, if not now. He'll go in that's why they must be buying him. Why are they buying a forward when they've got Mateta? So Mateta's on clearly going. Wharton will therefore have to go in the summer. and you look and you think, oh, that Palace cycle is suddenly
Yes.
being ripped. You know, that's what football does, unfortunately. Unless you've got zillions in the bank, you can buy your way out of it every summer. Unfortunately, teams like Wolves have been a strong mid-table team, and now they've capitulated and might not be seen again for a few years. You worry that Palace have
This
gone
is
from
going to
the
be
FA
a
Cup.
really interesting battle between Forest and West Ham, isn't it? Because they're obviously competing for that to stay up, and they're one of those teams is going to go down. I noticed Adam Traore's gone to West Ham.
He has.
Yeah, so they're both these buys that they get in the January window could keep them up. Could be the difference.
Oh yeah, they need to roll the dice, don't they?
One more piece of gossip, which I can't believe, but apparently Real Madrid want Diego Dallo from United. Apparently, I have been in touch with the club and said I'll personally drive him there if they want to. But yeah, can you believe it? Because apparently they're very weak in defence. They're looking for players. I think that'll happen. Actually, I think United would take that personally. But there you go. Let's talk about the weekend's fixtures to finish off. Then there's plenty of Premier League fixtures over the weekend. There's none tonight. Saturday there are 5 matches, 3 o'clocks. And the pick of the ties probably is your tie, actually, Richard, at 8 o'clock on Saturday night. Liverpool Newcastle, traditionally a banger of a game. What do you think about this, Richard?
I think I'm pretty confident being at Anfield. I know it goes back on what I've said before, but I think with that 6-0 win, Salah looks happy again. I'm confident they'll beat Newcastle at home. If it was away at Newcastle, I'd be concerned, but I think they'll turn up for that game. Yeah. If we lose that game, we're in big trouble. If we win that game, we're back in the mix again.
Mark his words, Dom. Would you be so confident if you were a Liverpool fan about that game?
Oh, nighttime Saturday games are weird, aren't they? You'd favour Liverpool because of the home advantage and the fact Bruno's probably still out for Newcastle. I think a narrow Liverpool win.
Okay, I think Liverpool will win it personally. I think Newcastle are faltering, and then into Sunday, there's 2 o'clocks at Villa versus Brentford. Can't see anything other than a Villa win there, but it could be a tight game. United take on Fulham. Now, I actually think this is a huge test for our squad because there's no point in turning up against the likes of City, Liverpool, etc. if you can't then turn it on against Fulham. This is a real test of our consistency and focus. It'll be it's fourth versus seventh, but there's only 4 points between them. That doesn't really matter that much either. And form guide is actually they've won 3 in the last 5. We've only won 2 in the last 5, so it'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting game.
They've only lost 1 game this year away to Leeds, 1-0. That's it.
Yes, and that was 2 games ago. Yeah, exactly. So this is a real tough game, I think, for us on Sunday. They've got to turn up. Forest play Crystal Palace, which is an interesting game as well. And then Spurs, you're down in London.
Who knows, eh? It's Spurs. You know what happens to Spurs with us? It's just an in joke, isn't it? That's gone on for years. Even when we've had 100 points, they still beat us. Honestly, I don't know. It's Tottenham away. It's Tottenham at home. They beat us at home at the beginning of the season 2-0. And then didn't win a game for ages again. So, look, it's an interesting weekend. You've got, when you're away in this league, it's tricky. This is the depth of this league. I do think that's the thing. Tottenham away, you'd think City should have enough. But this is what I'm saying about us being in transition. The cracks can show. So which City are we going to get? Which Haaland are we going to get, right? And Arsenal away at Leeds, are they going to react and actually get a result? Because Leeds are fighting for their lives still and are good at home. Now, if those 2 results ended up not being wins for Arsenal and City, right, which is not beyond the realms of possibility, Villa will be sitting second, 2 points behind Arsenal, 1 point behind Arsenal. So I know it's only 1 week's round of games and there's loads to go, but Every point matters now. And at the moment, City and Arsenal cannot get a run going.
It's going to be interesting to see the Prem table on Monday morning. It could look quite different. It might actually start to tell us what the season is going to look like. Lads, that was fantastic. Great to see you all. Dom, welcome back. You haven't been replaced. You still are box office, okay?
Yeah.
And
if the three names are on the film poster, his would have the biggest font, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Richard. I think that's fair. He does bring the glamour.
If we were in The Hangover, yeah, and we were all part. Obviously, we know that Richard is morphing into Alan. He just needs a baby strapped to his front with that haircut. But I do feel that I would probably take the main role there.
Oh my God!
Only saying it in a humble way.
Are you comparing yourself to Bradley Cooper?
Well, I mean, I didn't say that, but thanks for.
Do you know, Richard, he's more confident than his team is at the moment, which is saying something, really. But there you go. Well, anyway, from the three amigos on the Theatres of Dreams Extra Time, thanks for watching. And you have been watching and listening to Richard Irvine, Don Bars, and Rod Maxwell, or Don Bars, a.k.a. many other people. We'll be back next week with more of your gossip and chat about football in the widest sense. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.